Chris.
Heath.
I look to the stars and you know what I see?
What do you see?
I see myself.
Very reflective stars.
Yes, and the ending of Mass Effect 3 has got me feeling all sorts of ways.
You've done it.
I've gone to the event horizon, and how eventful it was.
This is an episode many moons in the making.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah, that's true.
But what episode is this a show of?
It's a show of Mobius tubes.
I phrased that weirdly. Yeah, Mobius Tubes, it's episode 94, being recorded on November 5th, 2023. You did not play the intro music. What was wrong?
What are you talking about? You just heard it.
I did not hear it.
I'll make you listen to it again.
Heath.
Oh, the first chance is always the best chance. That's what they used to say.
They being...
our founding podcast fathers.
Oh, like the OG podcasters.
Joe Rogan, Thomas Paine.
Who would be on the podcasting Mount Rushmore?
Oh, well, that's a boring Mount Rushmore because it's everybody you'd expect, right?
Okay.
More interesting would be who is on the Mount Rushmore of Sony execs. No, I tried to make it even less interesting. Who's on the Mobius Tubes Mount Rushmore?
Is that a trick question?
It's the developer of Into the Breach.
Oh, yeah, Subset Games.
It is.
It's Barney McTickles.
What? Excuse me? Chris.
Hey.
We're not here to talk about national monuments, although one will surely be erected for Commander Shepard, who is totally dead and not going to appear in Mass Effect 4. Welcome to Mobius Tubes, everybody.
Are we cutting the first
We
intro?
are rocketing to the beginning of the episode.
We should maybe hop into things since it sounds like you've got a lot on your plate.
Well, you would too if you had a podcast circa 2013. That's when you beat Mass Effect 3?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Right? Yeah.
That's true.
That's true. But let's have you say words before I say words.
Sure.
It's 8:30. We got
Book it.
a clip.
Okay. Before you give your dissertation on the ending of Mass Effect 3,
Oh, to be a spaceman.
I could wrap up my playthrough of Resident Evil 7.
Give yourself some more heat, more juice.
How juicy is that?
Oh, that's way too much juice. Sorry.
How's this much juice?
Pinch less.
Like a
Yeah,
chef
there you go.
in the kitchen.
Yeah, you did it. You nailed it.
This is a good level?
I think so.
What do the numbers say?
53. I just picked a random number.
Oh, this episode. Okay. Hey,
Hey.
October's over. We're out of spooky season. And accordingly, Samantha and I finished playing through Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. And we thoroughly enjoyed it. For a lot of these concluding thoughts, it's going to be comparing and contrasting it with my only other Resident Evil touchstone, that being Resident Evil 2 Remake. I think, I'm going to try to convince you, I think Resident Evil 7 edges out 2 for me and my taste. I think I liked 7 a little bit more.
If you're going to play a Resident Evil game, you are welcome to the family, son.
You really can't go wrong as long as you're not picking like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But no, 7 makes a strong case for itself. Here's why I think that rung true for me at least.
Well, you have to, if what you said is true, you have to change your artwork to Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, I'll be removing 2 off my walls.
And replacing it with like a really old guy in a car in the garage.
Smoke just billowing out of the exhaust. Yeah. This is, of course, the long-running horror franchise made by Capcom, where the Umbrella Corporation does some weird experiments. They're at it again.
How many viruses are we up to? We got the T virus. We got the D virus.
They need to practically jump into the Greek alphabet at this point because they've blown past G. And 7 was the kind of the soft reboot of the series. Came out in 2017. This is the one I've been playing recently. Set in the deep south of America, and it's like a very back to its roots, intimate horror, just you and this weird family. You're trying to survive, escape from their southern estate.
Yeah, you're in their element.
Yeah. And I think the setting is a big strength of 7. So when 2 came out back in the 90s, video games as a medium, much younger and more nascent, it would have been novel enough just to create a game that was a pretty straightforward by the books zombie survival scenario. Taking scenes you'd expect to see from a zombie flick, adapting it into a video game, that would be pretty compelling. But by the time you hit Resident Evil 7, decades later, you need to mix it up more than that. And that's where I think the swampy bayou setting, way more novel than just urban police station, I think. The types of monstrosities you face in Resident Evil 7, way more unique than conventional zombie shambling towards you corpses.
Yeah.
So I think the unique identity and personality of 7 shone through for me, where Resident Evil 2 was a much more standard zombie fare. So that was a feather in the cap of Resident Evil 7. I think the jump to the first-person perspective wasn't just the superfluous surface-level change I expected it to be. It really did dial up the horror element. Being in first person, I mentioned this last episode, your cone of vision is diminished. Like your situational awareness, you can't see as much playing as Ethan Carter in the first person versus playing as Leon Kennedy in a third-person shooter. Very often in Resident Evil 7, there would be creepy crawlies hanging out right at the periphery of my vision.
Like Samantha, yeah.
And
got her.
And you just turn your head a little bit, and the jump scares were more frequent in 7, and I think I attribute that to having a more narrow field of vision. So that you want that in a horror game, I think. Yeah, if you're rounding a corner and your face is that much closer to whatever's going to be right around the bend, making the reveal of what spooky things in the new room that much more intimate for you in the first-person perspective. It was a much bigger shakeup than I originally was going to give it credit for. And the cherry on top of how effective I think the first-person perspective is in Resident Evil 7 is this game has a VR version. Ooh. And I'm not going to go anywhere near that. It would be poop your pants scary.
Yeah.
It was bad enough as it was just playing it on a flat screen, but having those mold monsters duct taped to your eyes and you can't escape in VR, that would be a nightmare. So setting, really cool in 7. Horror, dialed it up to 11. That's great. I thought the boss fight encounters in Resident Evil 2 were a relative weak point of that game.
Let's name them all really quick.
Well, that's part of the problem.
Mr. X, T-Virus Mr. X,
you fight
B-Virus Mr. X.
This scientist who's infected with the G-Virus over and over again in Resident Evil 2, like at least 3 times. The infection has progressed as the game goes on, so he's a little bit different.
Now he has a third arm.
Now he has a third arm, or he's bigger. But you fight the same boss several times in Resident Evil 2. They don't mix it up that much. It gets a little stale. Where I thought the boss encounters in 7, much more diverse, much more interesting. You could levy the criticism, hey, you fight Jack, the patriarch of the Baker family, a bunch in 7, but they're all so different.
He steals the show.
He's hard to forget. You've alluded to the car fight, which is this crazy claustrophobic in a garage. He hops in a car for some reason, doing pinwheels.
We have to stress how different Resident Evil treats horror than that. You would never have the car boss fight in a game like Outlast, in a game like Amnesia. They put charm into horror. They do, which is like a new flavor in like a barbecue set of ribs, where you're like, this is. I'm getting hints of gummy worm. Like it's not something you'd never expect.
Yeah. Throughout the entire Resident Evil franchise, there is a seasoning of comedy. It's not deathly serious all the time. And it needs that.
It's like comedy at your expense. You are the butt of the joke.
Right. But it does make it the tone a little bit lighter, which you need because If you were just sweating 100% of the time, this game would be so taxing. But thanks to things like the car scene, you burst out laughing once in a while. I will tell you about my favorite moment in Resident Evil 7 at the end, but we'll get there. But you fight Jack, there's the car fight, there's the giant pair of scissors fight,
I forget that.
which is very different. And then there's eventually like a third stage of the Jack fight, which is spoilery, so I won't even mention it.
Oh, really?
But he's not the only one you fight. The fight with his wife, Marguerite,
Firefly lady.
terrifying. Oh my God.
Because you hate bugs.
If you really don't like bugs and insects, maybe don't play Resident Evil 7 because there's an entire bug level.
Play Boku no Natsuyasumi.
Explain.
That's that old Japanese coming of age game that Tim Rogers reviewed, where it also has like beetle on beetle combat.
You do love your Tim Rogers.
He's a better Jacob Geller.
Oof. We can debate that later.
No, I don't understand why Jacob is so successful. known Jacob hater Heath.
Yeah, Resident Evil 7, the boss fights, more variety than ever. Big fan. And yeah, just the whole pacing of Resident Evil 7, it really carried me through. I didn't feel like I was ever suffering from the same style of gameplay for too long of a stretch. And they give you little cliffhangers that draw you to the next stage. My favorite moment possibly in the game is you approach a locked room that needs a lantern to unlock it. There's a lot of weird logic to unlocking rooms in Resident Evil. Just go with it. You need a lantern to unlock this door. And you just saw one recently, so you do a little backtracking, you go backwards. You look down at the bottom of a pit you were in previously. There's the lantern sitting at the bottom in a long, slender, pale white arm, reaches out of a hole, picks up the lantern very slowly, and then disappears back down the hole. Super creepy. You're just standing on top of the pit, and I started laughing because I really don't want to go down this hole to get this lantern, and I know I have to. And it's just the animation behind it and the comedic timing and the sense of dread that, oh, great, I've got to deal with this now. It was a great moment. I could have been laughing or crying when I saw that happen, and I chose to laugh.
Is that the daughter sequence? No, there is no daughter.
It is the transition to the insect level.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like the tunnels.
Yeah, there's some connecting tunnels.
And it's like a photograph. Okay.
And there were some cool twists at the end that
It was all a dream.
No, that's not the case. But there was some decent foreshadowing. I'm not going to say this was the best story I've seen all year in a video game, but I think it was more interesting than Resident Evil 2 at least. So, boom. Resident Evil 2, stronger puzzles, but in every other respect, I think I preferred 7 with the setting, the boss fights, the
Louisiana,
the swamp.
Yeah.
It was real fun.
Yeah, boy.
Enhanced horror. Cool. All right, that's enough Chris talk for now. Heath, do you want to hit us with the main event?
No, I want to piggyback on, like, that's a horror game that you speak highly of. I have a horror game that I'm going to speak highly of conditionally. Bailey and I last night played the latest Supermassive Games product, makers of Until Dawn. We played The Quarry.
Yay!
You know The Quarry.
I do know The Quarry. Actually, before you jump in, had Samantha and I finished Resident Evil 7 earlier in October, we would have jumped into The Quarry afterwards, but we ran out of time.
And you would have you would have been challenged by really cheesy cringe dialogue.
Okay.
Genuine, like, half of the cast is unlikable.
Do you think it's intentionally so?
No.
Because they're going to die off?
No, it's not. It's the fact that they're all teen high hormones rushing camp counselors on the last day of the summer have to survive in the monster-infested woods using only their teen abilities.
What?
That's not a... No, their cringe dialogue works against them. For anyone who's considering playing the Quarry, this might as well include you. Just get through the first 2 chapters as fast as possible. You know, the game starts on chapter 3, Truth or Dare. As soon as you get to the Truth or Dare campfire, the game, that's the first level, in my opinion.
Are chapter 1 and 2 just lots of tutorial?
It is so much, the pacing is glacial in the very beginning. You're getting lots of like ambiance and stuff, but it's just punishingly slow.
So you and I are known Until Dawn fans.
This is my first supermassive game.
What is the elevator pitch for the Quarry?
Oh, it's just 16 camp counselors on the last day of summer camp have to survive an additional night in the woods, and supernatural forces act against them.
Yeah, this is a real Quantic Dream style game.
Yes.
Telltale style game. Interactive movie-ish.
Oh, yeah.
Branching narrative.
You can totally screw yourself by not unlocking this door in advance or accidentally shooting an ally rustling in the bushes. Like, bad endings galore. You just gotta have your wits about you. Quick time events are a sure thing to happen. Poor inputs. I had a hard time controlling it. It was like the immortality quick time events. The Quarry.
You had to slip that in there.
Yes. The Quarry is a 5 out of 10 before it becomes an 8.5 out of 10 because you're looking at your significant other during the Truth or Dare kiss sequence, and you got to decide whether or not Ryan has to kiss Caitlin or Dylan, and you're like, ooh. It's a rush when it is peaks and valleys with the Quarry. You should give it a try if you've never played a supermassive game and you don't own a PlayStation, so you can't play Until Dawn. The Quarry is all right. It's got that actor from that and Brenda Song from Social Network, and it's if you can get past the horribly cringe characters and in very slow pacing at times, the world's your oyster.
Have you finished it?
No, it crashed on us 3 times.
Oh, man.
I'm playing it on an Xbox One.
Okay.
So previous gen hardware with a new game.
Sure. I see.
I'm begging for hardware failure. But Bailey today, while we were in the car coming back from Goodwill, she's like, I want to play the Quarry. Although she says it wrong. She says it like the Quarry, like our friend.
Okay. Oh, our friend. Yeah, that guy.
The Quarry. Yeah.
The Quarry.
Yeah. Well, whereas this game is the Quarry.
Right.
Anyway, do you have any questions?
Does
this also take place in Louisiana? No, but there is a overall clad, heavy set, 6-foot man of few words that grabs one of your friends and starts bringing him deeper into the woods. That might be a Louisiana native.
Louisiana resident.
Yeah, who knows?
What level of scary should you expect going into the Quarry?
Low to medium. There's instead of, I don't have a PlayStation Move, so you know that thing where you got to keep perfectly still?
Yes.
All I had to do was hold the A button until the scary thing moved away and the red cleared from my FOV.
Got it.
Yeah.
That takes a little bit of the fun out.
It sure does.
Do you think it's a game where every member of the cast could potentially bite the dust?
Oh, guaranteed. That's like, it's not a supermassive game if you can't wipe the party.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's almost assumed that everyone won't make it.
The overwhelming majority of completed the Quarry playthroughs have a body count in like 2 to 4.
Right. That's probably like approaching half the cast.
6 kids. Okay. You can play co-op. You can play couch co-op. You choose which controller controls which character.
And you hand it off, kind of.
If you have 2 controllers, then it's seamless. Overrated. You should just really only have like one person behind the wheel.
What was your criticism with dividing responsibilities like that?
Oh, Bailey can't handle the QTE.
Oh, okay.
We decided she handles the horny, I handle the hustle.
That's a good division of labor. Yeah, Until Dawn was it was like Supermassive's breakout hit.
It's massive.
And they haven't really ever recaptured that same level of quality.
They did Man of Medan. They did the like Salem witch trials,
Little Hope.
Little Hope, and then they did this.
There was one other one in between.
No, they didn't do that one.
In a desert?
Nope, never happened. It was a fever dream on your part. Don't listen to me.
Okay.
But this is Returning to the Well.
You think you will finish this since Bailey's seems game?
Yes, I'm going to buy it on my PC as soon as the first sale shows up.
Oh. Well, you have to start from scratch.
We're not going to... yes, I'm going to have to play through off camera.
Okay.
And bring it up to her.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. The Quarry oscillates between a 5 and a 9 out of 10.
Just
apparently.
get through the first 90 minutes. Just like don't even introduce it to Samantha until you're at the Truth or Dare. There's enough character building after that point to be sufficient.
Okay. Man, I want to know what happens in the first 2 chapters.
It's perfectly nothing. Anyway, that was one of 2 games I played.
One of 2 games you played. Okay. Do we want to hit the listeners with Mass Effect now or Final Fantasy now?
Final Fantasy now.
Okay, Final Fantasy. So I'm a bit of a broken...
Remake.
That's right. I'm in remake land now. Because last episode I recounted my experience jumping into the original Final Fantasy VII off the PlayStation 1. As a total newcomer, no nostalgia attached to that. And that was all in service of jumping into the remake, which I am now 23 hours into.
Oh, more past the halfway point.
Probably past the halfway point.
Shinra is gearing up for something big.
Right. Shinra is back. But before our listeners they're dying to hear about that, I realized I talked for about Final Fantasy VII, the original, for a long time last episode. And
almost as long as my joke is so good. I have to figure it out. What the heck is his name? One-Winged Angel. What the heck is
Sephiroth?
Yeah, almost as long as Sephiroth's Meteor Mash animation.
Right, his Monster Mash.
Yeah, whatever it was.
I neglected to talk at all about the game's combat mechanics.
It's a JRPG.
It is a JRPG.
Everyone listening knows what a JRPG's combat mechanics are.
It's quite conventional in that way. I had taken copious notes, though, and I'm going to shove them in right here.
Oh, my God.
So it was
Make it a numbered list, even if the numbers don't mean anything.
The combat in Final Fantasy VII was a blemish on it for me. And here's where I'm coming from. I think
Hot take coming in.
Hot take coming in, maybe. I like turn-based games. I can cite so many examples. I enjoy the Persona 5 combat. I enjoy Into the Breach, or Slay the Spire, or even just point to my entire board gaming hobby to show that Chris has no problems at all enjoying turn-based gameplay. That is not an Achilles heel for me. I quite enjoy it. Final Fantasy VII, the original, is pseudo turn-based, and that it is a JRPG with your party lined up on one side, the enemy monsters lined up on the other. They're taking turns, meters. So it's the active time battle gauge fills up, and that determines who takes which turn when. It's not
almost Transistor-esque, just for my frame of reference.
It's playing in a similar space. I'd say the closest thing I've played to this is Child of Light, but that doesn't help you it out at all.
Oh, what did I call it that one time?
Progeny of Not Dark. I remember.
Good times.
Here's the thing with Final Fantasy VII. If you were to set the controller down, go to the bathroom, and come back, your party would probably be wiped. It's not truly turn-based. If you sit there...
Well, that's just because they all have a multiple of 4 as their level.
Yeah, L4 death. If you sit there not issuing commands, enemy combatants will continue to attack you.
Damn.
On repeat.
That's not turn-based.
So here's the dilemma with Final Fantasy VII. The advantage of a real-time combat system is it gets to incorporate all that juicy, satisfying, enjoyable game feel. I'm talking about the satisfaction and the adrenaline of, responding in real time to enemy imps in Doom Eternal, or pulling off that flashy combo really quick in Devil May Cry. You get into a flow state so much easier in a real-time game because You're constantly engaged. There is never any downtime. The advantage of game feel is the main perk of a real-time system. Where turn-based has its own set of pros and cons, the main advantage of a turn-based game is that it can ask you more complex and nuanced decisions that you need to sit there and ponder because you have the time allotted to do so.
I've spent like 10 minutes on a single Into the Breach turn.
Exactly. You don't have the luxury of sitting for 10 minutes playing Devil May Cry thinking of, hey, do I want to make a sword slash or a gunshot? No, but you can do that in a turn-based game, and there can be many more variables to juggle, a lot more resources to manage. It could be a much more rich decision space in a turn-based game because you have all the time in the world, baby. And Final Fantasy VII is the worst of both worlds. Somehow they take all the cons from both styles and none of the pros. Because, yeah, it's turn-based. So you're just navigating menus. There is no satisfying game feel to enjoy. You're just pressing up and down and confirm your selection.
At least the music's good.
At least the music's good because, boy, it does some heavy lifting. Because at the same time, since you don't have the luxury of sitting there thinking about interesting mechanics and combat decisions, you do need to respond as quickly as possible. Otherwise, enemies will continue to pummel you. The mechanics in Final Fantasy VII aren't that interesting in the combat either. It's very basic. A couple different elemental magic spells. Just hit the quick, easy rock, paper, scissors, throw the right element. You could probably win. Not to mention the menus you're scrolling through to select things.
Oh, you mentioned this.
A little bit different than what I said before. The width of the menu is narrow enough to be an obstacle. You get so many items in your inventory that all have useful effects. There's one status effect you get hit with frequently in Final Fantasy VII where you get turned into a frog. It's like a quirky thing. But there's a perfect item that'll cure your frog ailment. It's called a Maiden's Kiss. Here's the thing. In late game Final Fantasy VII, you've got dozens of items, and Tifa's been turned into a frog yet again, and you're desperately scrolling through.
Time is ticking as you're scrolling.
Time is ticking.
Oh, that's cancer.
Enemies are pummeling you. You can see 2 or 3 things from this list at a time because the window is so narrow. You're desperately scrolling, looking for your Maiden's Kiss to heal Tifa from her amphibian plague. And you're just, you accidentally scroll past it as it whips by and you're trying to backtrack. Final Fantasy VII, in summation, is just trying to navigate menus as quickly as possible and making fairly brain-dead decisions
Why is it
all the
one
while.
of the best games ever, then?
I don't know, because people were desperate for things to play back in 1997, I guess.
Guess so.
So yeah, my hot take is Final Fantasy VII's combat is the worst of real-time and turn-based, all in one. And with that out of the way, let's talk about how cool this remake is.
Oh, so the bar was so low. Yeah, anything could.
Anything is a huge improvement.
Okay. A pay-to-win scheme would be more fun.
Despite how much dunking I did on the original, going through that experience has been paying lots of dividends for this remake. My enjoyment is through the roof. I have to say, just the sheer contrast between playing this 1997 game, which, it's made in that era, it looks pretty rough, to playing possibly a contender for the highest production value video game I've ever seen. That stark contrast in the visual presentation, very amusing.
Like therapeutic.
Yeah, it's like, wow, I can feel the 30 years of progress in the blink of an eye.
I ate all my vegetables. Now I get to enjoy the steak.
Exactly. This game is gorgeous. I feel a little bit like a sucker with like how much the gorgeous fidelity of Cloud's eyebrows are endearing me to this game.
Isn't it cool? You've played long enough that you get to see. Isn't it cool how Cloud and Barrett, is that his name?
Yeah, Barrett.
How they like the camaraderie develops initially on their very first mission. They kind of don't.
Very antagonistic.
Yeah, and now they're more like there's greater camaraderie.
Yeah,
Have you noticed that?
I do notice that, And that warming up to each other happens in the original as well. But I have to say it's probably a little more believable in this one, just because characters have more dialogue in general. Things are better acted. There's actually voice acting. And we'll get into, it's not all roses with Final Fantasy VII Remake.
When you had to choose the self-destruction timer, did you do 20 minutes or 30 minutes?
I panicked and looked it up and saw there was no real consequences either way, so I gave myself that extra breathing room and chose 30 minutes.
No.
The only change is Barrett is slightly more impressed. Barrett thinks you're a little bit cooler if you do 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say. Basically, everything I thought was strong about Final Fantasy VII has been preserved, and a lot of my complaints have been ameliorated. The only issues I have with this remake are all symptoms of the fact that they've turned what is a 5 or 6 hour segment of the original game into its own fully fledged 35-hour experience.
Some might even say bloated.
Bloated is the exact word you should use.
Okay.
Of this remake, only like 20% of this remake is actually adapted source material. The remaining 80% of this remake has been invented out of thin air.
It's almost like official fan fiction.
It really feels like the people who made this game were super fans of the original, which is a fun perspective to be coming from.
Yeah.
Because like you can tell...
That's how Sonic Mania gets made.
You can tell how much they care, but it also occasionally does feel like fan fiction wish fulfillment.
Oh, what? Because I'm going to say it. Chocobo.
What about the Chocobo?
There's just a lot of Chocobo stuff you got to do.
Well, yeah, that's all of Final Fantasy.
Okay.
You do fight a fat Chocobo. That was interesting. In VR.
In VR?
Yeah, Cloud puts on an Oculus Rift and you fight a fat Chocobo.
That's silly.
A lot of this game is very silly. But yeah, as I was saying, all of the big, important, integral story beats from the original that pop up in this game, they're absolute highlights. Like whenever it's adapting source material, you're like, oh wow, they've adapted this scene so painstakingly and lovingly. It really it gets across.
Like the motorcycle highway.
There's a boss battle during that motorcycle segment with animations that are out of this world.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, they've really dialed up the anime of this game. But then the issue is, while the big story beats are absolutely killer, there is also a lot of filler. Side quests in this game are universally uninteresting.
It's just the people of Midgar. It's Midgar, right?
It's Midgar.
They're like, help me get my cat out of a tree.
Yep, Cloud is on cat collection duty.
I nailed it?
Literally.
Oh,
yeah,
I
yeah.
had no idea.
Surprising number of cats in this game.
Wow.
Honestly, it boils down to a citizen of Midgar has an issue, asks Cloud for help. It usually involves killing a monster. Cloud performs task exactly as described. There's no twist. There's no subversion of your expectations.
Citizen gives you a 9mm.
Citizen pays you and you're done. Rinse and repeat. It's baffling to me that modern video games that incorporate side quests still do them in such a flat, predictable way when the blueprint for like subversive and compelling side quests have been tried and tested.
Let's say it together.
Yakuza.
I was going to say Witcher 3.
Witcher 3, Yakuza sub-stories are always have a fun narrative twist. Fallout New Vegas has a lot of interesting side quests. There are so many examples you can point to with side content done right that I'm shocked that such trite stuff still comes out. And Final Fantasy VII Remake is a capital offender of bad side quests. It's a shame. Like, you could just cut them out and the game would be better for it.
So Square Enix is looking to not CD Projekt or RGR. What's Yakuza's developer's name?
Yeah, Ryo Gotoku Studio.
RGG, right?
That sounds right.
Yeah, they're like, do we follow in their footsteps for side quests? Oh, wait, what's this Ubisoft? Let's follow the Assassin's Creed model.
Yeah, it's
Tailing mission.
It's very cookie cutter, copy and paste. And I think it does not only does it dilute the quality of the game, but it also makes the world feel like less of a living, breathing place. Because when you're doing such a transparently padded video game side quest, it makes the world feel artificial, where if you were to go into a much more organic, interesting one, it kind of sells the world as an authentic place you're visiting. So I think it does for a game that looks so photorealistic as Final Fantasy VII Remake, the weak side quests shatter the illusion a little bit, for me anyway. But no, that was my main criticism, the padding, the filler, but I'm having a great, bordering on fantastic time with the remake. My combat issues have been remedied. It's very different. It's much more real time now. It actually, more so than anything I've played since, this reminds me of Mass Effect combat.
I was gonna say Devil May Cry.
It definitely has the animation work of a Devil May Cry, but this feels a lot like Mass Effect. You go into battles with a party of 3. You can actually hop between characters. You also issue commands. And how in Mass Effect, like you'd say, hey, I have Garrus on the squad. He's got an overload ability, which is super effective against shielded enemies. Very similarly here, I bring Aerith alongside Cloud. I've equipped her with some wind materia, and I know she's going to be good against flying drakes. There's ability cooldowns you're juggling. I'd say the amount of combat decision-making you're doing is as complex as the original Final Fantasy VII, but it has all the real-time satisfaction of pulling off fun dodge rolls and well-timed parries.
There's combos to be had.
There's a lot of flashy, fun animation works to enjoy. So this manages to take some pros from both real-time and turn-based combat and marry them. It doesn't just take the cons. So big step up there. Man.
Let me know when it looks like Revengeance.
Okay. It probably looks most like a Devil May Cry game when you're maybe playing as Tifa, because she's all about hand-to-hand combos, and she's very athletic and agile. Let's see, I've just got two things. I've got one thing to gush about and one more thing to praise. Those would be, I like how upgrading weapons works in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Materia.
Hey, in RPGs, like, you've been playing for a while, you eventually find a better sword.
Yeah.
You compare the stats. It does more damage than my old one. I should equip this new sword. And that's how a lot of gear management works in traditional RPGs.
Yeah.
That's how it worked in the original Final Fantasy VII. There's not much of a decision to be made. You basically find gear that is definitively an improvement, so why wouldn't you use it? That is not the case in the remake. Weapons have like Skyrim star constellation skill trees onto themselves.
I like that.
Each weapon can be spec'd to your own playstyle, and weapons can be custom tailored to fit different roles. It's much more nuanced. I am not really finding anything that is a definitive upgrade over old weapons, to the fact where I am more than halfway done with this game, and I am still using Cloud's Buster Sword, which he started with.
Yeah.
I have not found something I like more yet. Yeah, so weapon selection in Final Fantasy VII, the remake, it's all about trade-offs and pros and cons. It's not just about, little dopamine burst, I found something better. Let me discard the Buster Sword and never think about it ever again. No, weapons can be viable throughout the entire game, and that's cool. It also, I think it would lend to replaying the game. You could have a different experience if you used the nail bat instead of the Buster Sword. And that's true across all the characters, not just Cloud. So yes, I like the more nuanced approach to selecting weapons. And finally, the game is just
so pretty.
It's so pretty. Man, everything about, I'm in chapter 11 now.
So Midgar's got a big pancake of a metal, like, like a 45-pound plate
There's
hovering
an
over it,
upper
right?
city where like the wealthy Shinra employees work.
Okay.
And then the lower city down below that doesn't get natural sunlight, where's all the slums and where you spend most of your time.
Yeah.
It's just a social commentary. You're still eco-terrorists.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's good for you. So I have to say, like I said before, only 20% of this game is actually adapted material from the first one. A lot of it is like new scenes that aren't retconning anything. They're just like additive. They could have happened.
Jesse
Like taking a field trip to visit
She-
Jesse's parents.
in the pizza.
And the pizza party, yeah.
Yeah.
They've taken some liberties. I'll stay mostly spoiler-free. But changes they made into the section of the game that happens in Wall Market, which is a highlight. This is maybe when the game is at its goofiest. You're in like the pleasure district, basically, of the Undercity.
This is when he dress up, cross-dress.
This is the famous cross-dressing thing. They took liberties with how exactly Cloud obtains a dress. And let me say, I am here for those liberties. Okay. Wow. The Cloud cross-dressing scene oozes budget. Like, I have to imagine the publisher, Square Enix, went to the development team, and the devs were like, hey, how much money do we have to make like Chapter 1 and Chapter 2? How much do we have for the Cloud cross-dressing scene? And Square Enix said, blank check, baby. Make it pop.
Why?
And boy, did they make it pop.
What?
It is the highest budget rhythm game I've ever seen. Every pixel on the screen oozed quality.
This game came out like 4 years ago?
3 years ago,
How I never seen this.
look it up. It's well worth your time.
Okay.
In conclusion, I'm really liking the remake. Obviously, it's a modern game, so all of my antiquated problems with the original have been pretty much solved. You'd think, Chris, you know where the story's going, right? And I mostly do. I don't know the ending of this game. I hear starts to diverge from the original. I don't know how that's going to work yet. I've started to see maybe hints of what could be. And I'm very interested, like on the edge of my seat, curious about what's going to happen. My theory, it's just a theory right now. I don't know for sure. But in the original and the remake, Cloud has some issues. Cloud has some trauma from his past, maybe some repressed memories going on. He gets these migraines. You get like little flashes of things Cloud may or may not be remembering. And some of the flashes he's seen in the remake have me giddy with the implications. That's all I'll say. I can't wait to see where they take the remake trilogy, quote unquote.
Don't you hate how the second installment of the remakes called like Reunion?
Rebirth.
Rebirth
is the subtitle.
It's so silly for a part 2 to be called Rebirth.
It has me curious. What does that mean?
What does it mean?
So yeah, I'm having a ball with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Next episode, I'll probably be done with it.
Probably, yeah.
And I'll report back with my final thoughts.
What are you playing this on?
On my PC.
Okay.
Yep, it's on Steam.
Yeah. That's all my questions.
Tifa looks great.
All right, moving on.
Okay.
Come on. Keep
Is
that in Italian Parliament.
Is it time for the main event, Heath?
All right.
Before you hop in,
yeah.
I just wanted to
Go pee, get more water.
Yeah, we should take a podcast break.
Yeah.
Stretch our legs and return with the conclusion to Heath's Mass Effect saga. We're back.
Oh, we're back.
I wanted to cue up just a little context for the listener, how big a deal this is.
Do you want dramatic music in the background as you say it?
Yeah. Make it very serious. Heath, just for how long this has been in the making, you first started talking about Mass Effect 3. You debuted it back in episode 84 in March. So it's been like a 7-month journey. And just hit home how long this has been going back all the way. You first started talking about Mass Effect in episode 70.
Okay.
Which is February of 2022.
Yeah.
So a year and a half later, here we are.
Got some
You've
4th and 5th trimesters.
You've finished the trilogy. Take it away.
Okay. This discussion is going to be in 3 parts. It's going to be all the funny things that I noticed, and then any like main takeaways from Chris's childhood experience, and then a third discussion on like what it meant, the ending in particular, and then whatever, like some Casey Hudson bashing and things like that. Mark Wendell, or what? The other,
You're talking
the other
about
writer.
BioWare employees.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll stink on them in the third part. Okay. All right. So when we left off, I land on the Leviathan home world. It's soaking wet. It's just like just picture that planet from Interstellar that's just waves. Immediately, a Reaper shows up, but doesn't elect to fire its like instant kill laser. It just drops like enemy grunts, and I'm like, all right, I'll fight these waves of grunts. And then your buddy, the pilot of the shuttle, Cortez, immediately has some like brain blasting, understands the full big picture ideas of like, we need to get in this diving mech and go down, and we need to salvage the power cells from the shuttle to power the diving mech so you can go down and wake up Leviathan, and Leviathan can kill the Reaper in the sky that's sending us waves of grunts. And so it's like, wow, Cortez has got it all figured out. So I get in the diving mech.
And you're talking about the final end scenes of the Leviathan DLC.
Yes.
Which is you played this in the most chopped up order imaginable.
I mean, that's how it's served to you.
No? It's amusing to me, all the other DLCs like Citadel or Take Back Omega. Okay. You just played them, from start to finish, dunzo.
Oh, well, Omega, you never leave the planet. And Citadel, you never leave the Sunset Strip or whatever it is.
Where Leviathan, you've painstakingly stretched it out across your entire playthrough.
They breadcrumb you clues.
I don't think they do.
I could prove to you they do.
All right, proceed.
All right, so Cortez gives you this wild 1 in a million shot, and I brought Javik along for this mission just randomly, and Javik's like over he taps you on the shoulder, and he's like, "Commander, even I would take a chill pill and consider the risks." But Shepard's like, "We gotta wake up Leviathan. He's been sleeping for so long." So he gets in the diving mech. You're on the sea floor, like a real nice cinematic of the thing just like sinking at the speed of sinking, and then you land on the harken back to 8th grade. What's the igneous rock in the ocean called? Or no, the metamorphic rock. Is it basalt?
I'll take your word for it.
What's like it's not granite. What's like the water granite? Gosh, every 8th grader listening to the show is just screaming it at me. So the mech is just walking along the seafloor, and then I almost blink and you miss it. Chris is already going to miss it as soon as I say it. You find the probe. So you know how when you explore planets in Mass Effect, you hover your cursor on the planet's surface, and then the little white arrow is like a little more to the left, and then you see a white circle. And then it's like, shoot your probe. And you shoot the probe, and 99 out of 100 times, it's like, you recovered some fuel or war assets. And then sometimes you go and land and do a mission. So, Chris, you're not like precision targeting this spot on the planet and thinking about the canonical ramifications of where the probe lands. To imagine that you're on a big marble, effectively, and you're just picking your cursor, hitting the right trigger. You played with the controller, right?
Yeah.
You just hit the right trigger. The probe goes, boom, and then it's like land get in Cortez ship and land on the surface. The thought of the probe, your haphazard trigger pull, the probe just happens to land on this ancient god's front doorstep is it took me all the way out of it.
Really?
I was like, that's the probe? I shot that close to the guy? So, I was like, Sure, BioWare, I nailed it.
Commander Shepard's trigger finger is just that good.
It must. And to think, I fire a million probes in these games. I was like, wow, what a unthinkably small percentage.
It's funny how that didn't register for me at all.
No, because you're still swept up. You're prepubescent when you're playing this game. You're just wanting to see the big space alien. So the big space alien shows up. Leviathan is just space Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Chris,
You're right.
Reapers, and I listened to X number of spoiler casts after I beat the ending.
Nice.
And somebody, Pat Staresat from Castle Super Beast mentioned that the Reapers look like squids or squid-like for a reason.
Yes.
That could be two reasons, right? And you mentioned, you tell me which of these reasons is more plausible. Squids are evil-looking. And that was just a cool enemy design for the first game that they went with, and it just served a purpose as like a malevolent robotic alien force. Or two, Sovereign from the first game, Sovereign is meant to be this unknowable, almost Lovecraftian occult force. You can't they need not explain how Reapers work in the first game because they don't want to tip their hand. That's the expression? Yeah, they don't want to tip their hand. So by choosing a HP Lovecraft squid-like motif for their enemy force, it sort of borrows the unknowable. You think of the horrors of the deep sea. This is the horrors of deep space. And that's the motif that BioWare went for when they chose the squid-like design. Which of those two theories is more likely, in your opinion? You think about that while I finish my paragraph.
Sure.
So Leviathan just rides his basically escalator up to Shepard in the water mech. And what does he say? Oh, yeah, he's basically like, hey, Shepard, we created the Reapers. They were a solution, and they were like an AI that went rogue because obviously we told the AI, the program, that its job is to prevent future conflict, and the Reapers saw the most efficient means of achieving that by just destroying their creator. That's the gist.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And Leviathan's like, you stand no chance, Shepard. And Shepard's like, yeah, but we can do what you can't. And you're able to convince Paragon, a renegade, I think. Leviathan's like, yeah, Shepard, you convinced me, right? So Leviathan joins the team.
Yeah.
Just full, imagine Smash Bros. You unlock the character and it's this golden squid sea monster alien. Fine. But I'm thinking in the back of my mind, what's he going to do? Oh, of course, he can channel these artifacts, right? The green balls that I shot when I first landed on this planet's surface. He can possess enemies on the battlefield using these green artifact things, a la indoctrination, whatever. Yeah, he's basically able to blue screen the Reaper with a flash from its green ball. That's what I wrote. So you buddy up with the Leviathan. He takes down the Reaper. You and Cortez fly back to the Normandy. Admiral Hackett's like, this is great. We're rewriting the history books. Admiral Hackett then goes, Shepard, you need to get to Thessia, which I didn't remember it initially, but it's the Asari
homeworld. Yep.
Yeah. And who shows up on Thessia but Kai Lang?
Your fave.
Kai Lang he's the least cool guy.
What did you text me? Must have been when he popped up.
No, you know what it was? It was the email that he writes to you.
Oh, that's right.
He hacks into your private terminal and the subject line is like, emergency, need help for poor aliens. And then the body of the email is like, haha, pussy, this is Kai Lang.
He's just taunting you.
Yeah, he just messes you up. So Kai Lang blows up Liara's house. and then you got to go to Sanctuary. And what did I write? I wrote it's a Cerberus husk factory.
Oh yeah.
I'm barely remembering this now. There's so much that I had to write down. Oh, on Sanctuary, you're constantly getting Skyped called from Miranda, who's just having the daddiest of issues, saying that
that's her thing.
Yeah. So her father is like just running this factory, I think. And then she shows up, and I think Shepard's in harm's way. Or no, they're trying to save her twin sister. And I don't know if for you, but Miranda eats it there.
Really?
She dies.
Ooh, okay. I don't think that's a guarantee.
Right, because you're maybe able to convince her father that things can be a different way.
Probably depends on your relationship with her.
Yeah, I didn't do her special mission on the Citadel. So, yeah, Miranda eats it, but here's an interesting thing that I'm positive you've never dealt with, is after Miranda dies, you can go on the Normandy, and Tali, right, my love interest, is at the bar, and she's reminiscing about Miranda, and is kind of being forthcoming and saying that Miranda was like a goody two-shoes and was like too perfect. I think she calls her a bitch at one point, but it was like, it was full of like remorse that she's gone. And I was just amazed that Tali had unique dialogue for Miranda's death. And it made me think of just like, oh man, all the other characters.
So many permutations. That level of attention to detail is what makes these games so special.
Crazy, right? Okay.
So custom tailored to your playthrough.
Next
was there
thing,
anything of interest on Thessia? Did we skip over that?
I wrote down all I wrote down is Thessia equals bad ending. I thought that was like a big mistake because Kai Lang just blows you up and there's nothing recovered from. Oh wait, no, that's the whole point. Kai Lang steals the key to the big thing you're building. What's the heck is it called? The Crucible.
The Crucible.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. By the way, I have tons of war readiness.
Your war assets are huge.
I'm doing great, but then Kai Lang steals it and brings it back to Tim's house. Have you heard it? Have you heard him called Tim?
No.
The elusive man.
His name is Tim? I didn't know that.
The elusive man.
Oh.
That's what the Spoilercast people were referring to as Tim, and I was like, that's brilliant.
That's a fun acronym.
Yeah. Okay. I got one hit KO'd by a katana wielding Cerberus grunt.
Ooh.
Did this ever happen to you?
They're dangerous.
I just got way too close, and it just got right through my shields. Instant killed. I had to reload. I was amazed by that. I didn't expect that combat would be that in depth. Oh, and then are you able to persuade the elusive man in his chair room? Because there's a Paragon and a Renegade option.
What was being debated?
Oh, like, Shepard, you're going about this all the wrong way. We need to be able to we need to control the Reapers. And Shepard's like, that kind of power is not something that humans are supposed to control. They're using you. You're indoctrinated. And then, my Paragon, I guess, wasn't strong enough, even though it's 60 hours in and it's the only dialogue choice I've chosen. So the elusive man gets away because he was just a hologram, of course, and then Kai Lang shows up, and I kill Kai Lang unceremoniously. That character did not belong.
Do you have a chance to do like a renegade interjection?
You sure do. I elected to not.
So how do you kill him?
You just dip out of the way of his sword swipe and kill him with your orange arm.
Oh, okay. So you did not shatter his sword.
No.
Oh, it's a cool scene. Should have done that renegade check.
My loss.
Okay.
The replayability for Kai Lang.
In Kai Lang's dying moments, what does your Shepard say to him?
Oh, that's for Miranda?
Okay. Yours said Miranda?
Yeah.
I think mine said that was for Thane.
Ooh. What does he do to Thane?
Oh, that's right. Thane wasn't in your Mass Effect 3.
Darn. You
could imagine Kai Lang the assassin, Thane the assassin. Good rivals.
Oh. Oh, very fun.
Yeah, they have a cool dynamic.
Okay.
So yeah, just on more content,
Well, that's why you're here.
will never
That's good.
know. Yeah.
Hey, okay. Hey, Shepard, good job. You rescued the key from the Elusive Man's base. Get back to Earth. That's where the Reapers brought the Citadel
Yes.
for the big final thing.
Very human-centric.
Great. So you land on Earth, and you're talking with all your squad mates. This is really just like the Oreo cookie of Mass Effect 3 is like, hey, all the characters you know and love, and then doing the rest of the like the actual meat and potatoes of the game. And then at the end of the game, it's like, here are all the characters that are still alive. You get unique dialogue. The communications technician who's just in a building in London goes, is there anyone you want to talk to, Shepard? Who apparently couldn't participate in the Earth battle, which is fine, right? So I immediately call up Grunt. And what does Grunt say? Grunt's like, oh, Shepard, you gotta win this for the Krogans, yeah, brother. You know, that's a great Grunt impression.
It was awesome.
Shepard, is there anybody else you want to talk to? And then I'm like, I'll talk to Jack. And then Jack is like, hey, we're creating those force fields like you said we would in like hour 2 of the game. Oh, great talking to you, Jack. Is there anyone else you want to talk to? And my other option is Jacob. And I was like, I don't need to talk to Jacob. Because he's last time I talked to him, he was just standing in the hospital, the Huerta hospital floor.
Right.
And it was just so vanilla. I was like, all right. I don't need to Zoom call him.
The fact that you get this opportunity to Skype all your besties is really indicating like, okay, you're in the final stretch now.
Yes. And nothing else says final stretch. Okay. Let's say one thing before we go into spoilers. Nothing says,
because we've never revealed a Mass Effect spoiler during these conversations.
What the character deaths?
I feel like all your recaps, I love them. It's just telling people what the game is.
Yeah. Maybe. That's how you see it. So, nothing says wrapping up like this charge down a hill. You remember that vividly? Where you were sprinting, and then big Reaper, who's like, maybe I should actually use my killer laser, starts frying all these vehicles around you, and
everyone around you,
and like, but Shepard's like not breaking a sprint until the laser hits him. And Shepard,
like nicks him.
Yeah, but Shepard's like in bad, like the worst shape you've seen him in the whole franchise. Still is able to get up, and then he has a pistol and he's limping along, and enemies still come at him when he's in this vulnerable state, and you're able to like pistol shot them.
In slow motion.
The final enemy of the game has been mythologized.
I am in on this.
Okay. His name is the final enemy of the game is technically a marauder, and he's just like a regular gun wielding bad guy. But they've mythologized him as if his name was Marauder Shields. Shields being his last name, but that's only because that's like the next word that is displayed because he's currently
shielded,
protected by a shield that you have to shoot through, and that it's his actual damage. But like the joke being Marauder Shields was like the last vanguard to protect you from the ending.
Right.
R.I.P. Marauder Shields. I'm so happy I can enjoy that meme.
Marauder Shields, the final boss of Mass Effect 3.
What a standout character.
That takes me back. Those memes were fresh when I was playing it
really?
10 years ago.
Wow, lucky you. Okay.
The myth of Marauder Shields was just getting started. Who made you aware of Marauder Shields?
Oh, Pat.
Okay.
Angriest Pat. So you warp into the Citadel.
Big elevator.
As luck would have it, Admiral Anderson is also there. Keith David. And as luck would have it, Tim is also there. The Elusive Man. The Elusive Man in bad shape. He is full husk boy.
How about the ambiance of being on the Citadel at that part?
I mean, I was like, I can barely, aside from the keepers,
Okay.
I barely recognize it because it's just coursing with specular, like the depth is so crazy, and I until like the arms open up, I'm like, this is just a space thing.
Okay. I found it almost horrifying.
Oh, what with like the body count?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the whole game is
all right.
body count. Like, okay.
You're inoculated to it.
You're right. Yeah. What happens there is okay. So Shepard is able to smash the big red button, which turns on the crucible. And a platform lifts him up, almost Christ-like, to the upper portion. And he is greeted by the little child, the hologram child you've been seeing in dream sequences.
Did we skip over?
Oh, yeah, I glazed over the elusive man, a la Indoctrination, has you pull the trigger on Admiral Anderson, fatally wounding him, but you're able to just dialogue. And half the reason I'm kind of skipping over this is because it's where the writing goes to the toilet.
That's where things start to go off the rails.
Yeah, and I'm just going to fit this in here for anybody that doesn't know. The writing on Mass Effect was done by a team of writers, right? Each character, Tali, Rex, Liara, they all had like a head writer person who would be like, this is what this character would say in this mission. And then it was up to Drew Kressler, the head writer, to fit in the wishes of the rest of the team, right? That's how the majority of the franchise was written.
Very cool.
And then as soon as you get to these missions that I'm talking about right now, that was when Casey Hudson and Mark Laidlaw, or whatever his name is, decided enough with the committee, and stop me if I say anything wrong, enough with that committee crap. This is how the ending is going to go. And they just did it. They just smacked the draft on the table, and there was like no revisions.
Really?
Yes,
Interesting.
I am certain that this is how it happened.
Okay.
A la secondhand.
You were a fly on the wall.
No, I was not. So yeah, I glazed over that because it reads like this is not the story building that I've come to know from the franchise. This is just the choke at the finish line of two people. So the elusive man is like, Shepard, you don't understand. I can control the Reapers. This is how humanity reaches the pinnacle of what we're destined to have. And Shepard's like, oh, but can't you see? You're indoctrinated. And then the elusive man is like, but Shepard, I know I can control him. I can totally do it, man. You're too scared. And then Shepard's like, no, you're being controlled. Like, it's just, and they say it like back and forth 4 more times. And then the elusive man is like, oh, it's too much. And then he pulls a gun and shoots himself. And then Shepard smacks the big button and then rises a la Jesus Christ and talks to the child.
Really? Comparing a character named Shepard to Jesus Christ? That's crazy.
Well, hold on. When at the very, very end, when the small person says, can you tell me another story about the Shepard? That kind of got me. My smooth brain did not make that connection.
Until then?
The mythologization of Commander Shepard. I wish I could be like, I saw that coming a mile away. So, Vancouver Child goes, you have 3 options. Or no, Shepard's like, who are you? And he's like, I created the Reapers. And Shepard's like, but like, who are you? And he's like, okay, I'm like a manifestation of a species of alien you've never heard of. Which is fine. And this is the part where I need you to clarify. I am playing this post-Leviathan smooth over. So the Leviathan DLC contextualized this ending. Shepard literally says, Leviathan, to the child. And the child's like, yes. Obviously, in the initial release of this ending, that was not said. Something else. So I lack the context for the outrage. Were you outraged?
I was
You were
never
not.
outraged.
Right.
Also, I never played the version 1.0. By the time I got to Mass Effect 3, the extended cut DLC was out.
Oh, okay. So we can't be too upset. All right. So Vancouver Child goes, you have 3 choices, Shepard. You can destroy... Oh, and then we got to talk about Edie. You can destroy all synthetic life. Organics will survive. Synthetics will just blue screen and die.
Which would take care of all the Reapers.
And Edie.
And all the Geth.
And all the Geth.
Yeah.
Like... But Shepard never asks like, and all the Geth too. Like you're supposed to assume that.
I'm surprised that doesn't come up.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it ought to have if Legion's writer was there at the table. So that's ending red.
Red.
And then Child says you also have this option, control, in which you'll die, Shepard. But your consciousness will just become the Reaper's consensus, and you can make them do little dances as far as they are concerned. So because you are the brain, and that appealed to me before I realized what the third option was.
And that's the blue ending.
That's the blue ending. It's control. Then the third option is synthesis, right? And on paper, it sounds great. Synthetic life and organic life will just become one. And the properties of life will make it so that the two are nigh indistinguishable, synthetics and organics.
It's the best of both worlds.
Shepard bites the dust either way. And the conflict will end. And that was the condition that like differentiated the red ending and the blue ending is like the Child says, even if you destroy all the Reapers right now, the path of life will lead to their creation again, like very Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
Organics will always like build the machines.
It's a matter of time.
Right. Yeah. So like that's super interesting. But if you choose the green ending, that won't be the case because we will be able to progress from this moment. And it basically is just like no more racism is effectively what you're achieving. So I don't know. All this is happening as soon as the Child stops talking. And I'm left with these 3 choices. I kind of forgot which path meant which color. And I was like, I need to look it up. So I did. I opened up a browser. And then I was like, oh, okay. The green one was the
synthesis.
The center, like, you jump into the beam of light. That's what I'll do. So I jumped into the beam of light. And then a cutscene plays in which all the Reapers, everybody fighting on the battlefields, immediately gets hit with a green wave and goes, what? They almost just to say like they recognize their like prejudice, and then they realize like, oh, we are all kumbaya, and then the Reapers reverse ODST back into the sky, and then the Normandy flies towards the horizon at light speed, outrunning the green wave.
Trying to, yeah.
But if the green wave hits them, that's fine. The green wave hit everybody on Earth. Why were they? Okay, so
I think that the same cutscene plays regardless of which ending you chose. So they might be trying to outrun like the red destruction
but
one.
you can't outrun the giant universe ball.
At this point, the writing is questionable.
Yeah. As soon as I found that probe and the Leviathan thing, I knew it was out the. Okay, that's a joke. Okay, so that's it for my notes. Oh well, I mean. Yeah, so not to nitpick too hard, but there's a reason that I wrote this down. There's a reason that DNA is the only hereditary material in life, right? We don't have silicon-based DNA. It's carbon-based and phosphates and all that. Just because that's what gives rise to cellular mechanisms. When the child says combine organics and synthetics to create a new DNA, that's what was said verbatim.
Okay.
I was like, that makes no sense. You would almost need another element or need to change the properties of existing elements to make them behave the same way that atoms in DNA behave. It was just a leap in logic I couldn't even process from a chemist. I knew too much about chemistry. I knew enough about chemistry to be like, that makes no sense.
I was able to safely coast past that.
Oh, lucky
in my
you.
Ignorance being bliss.
Yeah. So, okay. Let's. I'm audibling my 3-part ending. I wanted to talk about like the green ending. So the green ending is you're supposed to be, hooray, now people like Edie and Jeff can be who they are regardless of the color of their skin effectively and live in harmony. Credits, right? That's the green ending of Mass Effect 3. But when you choose the green ending, you're kind of deciding on behalf of all life.
Synthetic and organic.
Even if you were, God forbid, like bodily autonomy is supposed to be, is a principle that I can get behind. But the thought of a guy jumping into a ball of light that suddenly makes me part robot, I can see why it's downright like fascist from that argument standpoint.
And from some perspectives, the green ending synthesis is portrayed as the most desirable outcome. I think that one requires you having the most war readiness assets.
Yes.
More so than control or destroy endings.
Yes.
So it's like the ultimate reward even, or like what the game is portraying as the best outcome.
Right.
But yeah, it's not exactly perfect.
So I thought that upon immediately seeing the child, a thought went through my mind that like, this is going to be so silly. It's going to bring the game's rating in my mind down a full point. And it really didn't.
Oh, good.
That ending was fine. For my science fiction trilogy, I was okay with it. I understand why everyone was upset that the fact that this is Mass Effect is just the splintering of choices and the whole like how like your decisions matter and it just butterflies into whatever this beautiful tapestry and have your ending bottlenecked into 3 colors. Like I understand that's antithetical to what the core of the franchise was.
Yeah.
But I was okay with it. And I wish the only thing and I think you're absolutely going to agree with me. I wish that they paired each of the 3 colors, red, blue, green, with characters that endorsed those endings you met across the whole thing. Because the green ending is what Sovereign wanted.
Really?
Sovereign was like, why are we fighting these Reapers? We need to join them.
Sovereign or Saren?
Sovereign.
Saren.
Oh, sorry. Saren.
Saren. Okay. Now I'm with you.
The green ending is what Saren wanted.
Yeah.
And the blue ending is what the Elusive Man wanted.
Right.
So I wish you literally saw like 2D JPEGs of each character standing as guardians of this fork in the road.
I like this idea.
It would have been so good.
For a series that's so character focused, being able to like weigh in on the perspectives of the characters you've come to know at the end, it would make the decision feel less artificial.
I don't know who would be the mascot of the red ending where it's just kill all synthetics. I think it would be you're already jumping to it. It would be like the Earth First political party candidate that you could talk to in the first game. Imagine if he came back. That would be unimaginable.
Right at the end.
You'd be like, Shepard would be like, who is this guy?
I haven't
again?
seen him in 2 games.
What's he called? He's just the Earth First. Yeah, whatever that guy was.
Please keep going. Eventually, I have questions for you.
I mean, there was a lovely note after the credits that said, on behalf of the Mass Effect team here at BioWare, thank you for coming along this journey. And I didn't have, I think, is it a rumor that if you have the maximum war readiness points, you get a post-credit sequence in which, like, it's a shot of Shepard's dead body, but then you see his chest rise with a gasp of air, and he's alive.
That's not a rumor. It's true.
Wow.
With maximum war assets and selecting the red destroy ending, Shepard survives and takes a breath.
Red ending is canon?
Probably the most canon, yes.
Oh, but Edie bites it.
Edie would be donezo.
That's so. Oh, well, and then I like that harkens back to how I felt about the Moon VI mission from one.
It's all full circle. That Moon VI mission.
I just never could get over it.
Still paying dividends.
I had to kill her. Yeah, that's funny. Heath, where do you rank the Mass Effect trilogy? I mean, the replayability is great. I think that the Mass Effect trilogy is... what do I compare it to other trilogies, I guess? Is it better than Detroit Become Human? I mean, it's got to be, right? Because it's like across 3 games.
It's got to be.
There's pages and pages of more character goodies.
How do you rank the Mass Effect games against each other? What's your preferred order?
My preferred order. Oh, the highlight of the series. That was what I was trying to. I mean, the highlight of the series might be the Citadel, and the Citadel mission where, like, you jump in the mission with the entire squad and they're all fighting side by side.
That's a good choice.
That is in gold.
BioWare was on different stuff.
Yeah, that was good. Mass Effect 2. I mean, I like Arya T'Loak in 3. Did you know Arya T'Loak was voiced by Carrie-Anne Moss?
I had no idea.
From Matrix? Yeah, I learned that during a spoiler cast. Mass Effect 2, I think Mass Effect 2 is better than Mass Effect 3 by a sliver.
They are close. Closer than most people give them credit for.
And then 1.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah. I just had to fight too many sentries in 1.
We're in agreement.
Yeah.
Did you at any point shed a tear? I know there's one part that always gets me.
What? Kai Lang's death? Got him.
Tears of joy.
Yeah.
No. Is it right when Shepard makes the final choice where you get like flashback scenes of all the crewmates who have passed on?
Oh.
That one always gets me.
Oh, really? Okay, maybe. Sorry. Maybe I just got habituated to the number of dead crewmates.
Your body count was a bit higher.
It was so high. Can't say I did, but I also didn't play this as a dumb child.
I shed tears when I replayed it recently.
Oh, like, a couple months ago, maybe. Okay.
It was a couple of years ago.
Darn.
One question I had, you were hitting up the spoiler talks. Did you come across anyone talking indoctrination theory?
With reference to the Elusive Man?
With reference to Shepard.
No.
No?
No, Shepard. Explain.
Okay, this is a very robust fan theory that BioWare has never come out to confirm. They may have even denied it, but there's enough evidence that I'm convinced at some point this was on the table officially at BioWare. There's a big fan theory that across Mass Effect 3, Commander Shepard has Reaper indoctrination. And this is most prevalent at the end of the game, where with evidence that, quote unquote, the best ending where Shepard can survive is the Red Destroy mission. Things like how the game's color coding is seemingly reversed at the final act.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned this.
Where what red is always the renegade choice, blue is always the paragon choice. But Shepard, with a compromised mental psyche in the final thing, he sees like destroy the Reapers. That's color-coded red all of a sudden, where the thing the Reapers might want Shepard to do, the control one, is blue, as if it's the good option. Those seem to be flipped. All those recurring nightmares Shepard has with the inky forests and chasing the kid through the trees, those in the lore explanation, that's a symptom. People suffering from indoctrination, they find themselves in similar landscapes to that. So the fact that Shepard is plagued with very indoctrination-like dreams throughout the entire game seems like the big red flag. I haven't seen the big comprehensive explanation videos in a while, but there's a big stack of evidence that points to Shepard himself and the fact that he spends so much time around the Reapers, which is how you get indoctrinated. I think that theory, having water, makes the ending a little more compelling.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything in your evidence stack that I would take exception to. That's great.
Yeah.
Specifically, like, it would be lame if Shepard, obviously when the elusive man was like clenched his purple fist and caused him to shoot Anderson, that was an indoctrination action.
Probably.
Yeah, that like the late. Okay, you're differentiating between like lame indoctrination, in which like Shepard has to like put his hand to his forehead and go like, my brain, and like good indoctrination, in which that's the unreliable narrator with the color switch.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that second one.
Yeah, Shepard himself is being manipulated. He's going down the path of becoming Saren, who he tried to stop in the first game.
Which, oh god, the lack of Saren in this game was weird.
In 3?
Yeah, Saren should have been like a Force ghost.
He's a compelling character.
Yeah, his absence was silly. Like, did his voice actor die? I don't think so. But it obviously don't bring him back as like the goo monster you fight in the first game. Keep him Turian form.
Turian OG.
Yeah. And that's all I have for notes. I'm totally looking forward to the next installment of Mass Effect. They clearly learned their lesson.
What do you mean by that?
Like,
after the Andromeda?
Don't choke at the finish line and have two people try to write your ending. A la Game of Thrones season, whatever that was.
Yeah, season 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. It stumbles a bit right at the very end. But, I'm not very confident in BioWare's output right now. I think...
Well, that's not who's going to make the fourth game.
Who will be making it?
I was going to... Supermassive. I don't know.
Oh.
No.
Yeah, I don't want Supermassive making it. Very cool. Well, what a journey we've been on through this podcast. It's great that we've documented it all. That's awesome.
Yeah. The supercut. It could be made.
Could exist. Yeah, Samantha said she's like dying for the supercut.
She played Mass Effect?
No, but she loves hearing you talk about it.
Oh, silly.
It's the type of game she'd be into, to be fair.
Okay.
Cool. What's our runtime at?
Hour 30.
Want to call it a podcast?
Sure. What's going on? Is BlizzCon going on right now? That new Call of Duty's out. Alan Wake 2 is... Oh, wait. By next episode, the Game Awards nominees will be out.
Yes. Expect episode 95. We'll be back at it again, doing our annual tradition.
This will be the most games I've played of nominees. No.
You'd play Dredge?
I played Dredge.
And I played... Nothing.
And I followed tradition. I played one nominee.
Yeah, I played Metroid Prime Remastered, if that counts.
Ooh.
But hey, that's never stopped us before from predicting.
That's true. And it's only gone on to hurt me in the case of like Disco Elysium.
Were you over?
The more games I play, the worse my predictions are.
Yeah, keep it ignorant. But yeah, we're going to have a fun time predicting. This year's been absolutely stacked.
Well, it's just going to be Baldur's. Oh, okay. Let's save that episode for that episode.
Yes, let's close out this episode.
Dude, we keep forgetting to say the email address in the very beginning. Your mom is going to disown me.
It's a grisly fate. Yeah, you can send us an email at mobiustubespodcast@gmail.com.
That's mobiustubespodcast@gmail.com. Is J-Dog still on red? Have we not answered his thing?
No, we did. We did.
Okay.
We got him last episode.
I ought to listen to that.
He sent me the text message. He said, thank you. So very good. And what do you think? Wow, what'll you even be playing next time? You'll try to finish the Quarry.
Yeah, I'll try to finish the Quarry.
End of an era with Mass Effect done.
Yep. And what better way to end an era than to start another era? Halo franchise.
Wow, from one sci-fi to another.
What are the chances? Oh, or maybe a different game than that.
Are you in like 9th grade?
Ooh.
Oh,
Bailey throwing shade at
shots
Halo
fired.
fans around the globe.
Oh my gosh. You know what, Bailey? If my gaming tastes are juvenile, how about I just erase the fairy godmother's house from Eternal Forest?
It's not Eternal Forest. You know this. It's the Forgotten Land.
It's the Forgotten Lands, everybody. Sorry. Did you know that a new biome is coming out in December?
I did not know.
Yeah.
What it is?
It's like the Eternal Isle, I think.
Who lives there?
Nobody yet. DDB.
Were you talking about the Quarry?
We were a little bit.
I like the Quarry. We've only played a little bit of it, but I like it so far. It is very Until Dawn. And I think, Heath, you mentioned that it's by the same makers.
Eva Gaston Rapunzel.
Eve, Gaston, and Rapunzel. Whoa! Oh, that's going to be good.
December 5th. It's the first paid expansion.
Oh.
So it's going to have budget behind it.
Look forward to that next episode.
Nice. All right. I'll catch you then, Heath.
Go.
See ya.